Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back. So this time we have a sort of an afternoon stream going here. So we'll see how many viewers we actually have. We seem to have a few. Welcome everyone. Let's get the starting visual out of the way here. So today we're gonna do a little bit of physics collision work. Let's see if I have my audio levels set up properly here. They seem to be pretty good. As always, do let me know if anything is off. For today, I actually ended up just clicking play in Epidemic Sound suggesting songs that kind of go with my playlists that I have set up for the stream, but I have not chosen this song, so we'll see what actually comes out of this. I got kind of tired of my normal stream playlist, so let's see if it comes up with some nice music here. Anyway, it is afternoon here in Finland. I need to do some work. I figured, yeah, this piece of work could actually be streamable. So let's have a look at what we are dealing with here. In recent streams, I have been working on the first proper conversation that we have in the game. And of course, the conversation system as a whole is fairly recent, so we haven't really had anything like that before. I'm gonna mute the game here for a little bit. And the idea here is that we have this person in the game that we encounter in the demo, which is standing outside of the lift station, which, if you've been following along for a while, you've seen this scene many times. This is of course Traction Point for those of you who are new to the channel. A game that I'm building as I'm not even sure if I should say solo developer anymore, because we have a few people doing some audio related things these days, but almost completely solo developed. And here in this level we have this wonderful old lady standing outside of the gate. She is still using a blockout vehicle because I haven't really modeled anything. If we add a little bit of volume back in, we can actually talk to this person.
Oh, finally someone shows up. I have been sitting
And
here.
sort of like the whole idea with this character is that she's not a very nice person. She's very entitled and kind of doesn't really want to understand what is going on, and is generally rude to the player and the crew and all of that. And of course this horrible voice acting that you hear right now is my text-to-speech voice acting, which is a placeholder until I have my properly voice acted lines in. And yes, she's mad because she can't get the gate open. And you can ask, well, how long have you been staying here and all of that? And she's just having none of it, and kind of treats your crew as servants who should be letting her in. And one of the ideas from the very beginning is that, like, you can do things to her. You can drive into her like this. You can lift up her entire vehicle with the mother vehicle. Where's Mother? There's Mother coming along. Mother, of course, has these cranes that you can use to do all kinds of things. So you can lift up Mrs. Florence's vehicle, and you can be nice about it. You can lift her into the lift station, which you know she is not going to be very show a lot of gratitude, because that wouldn't be her character to do so. But anyway, you can help her reach her goal by lifting her over the closed gate, or you can just like lift her somewhere where she can't even get out of, which might mean that you kind of lose out on a few things later on, because she might be able to give you some information, things like that. And some of these things already work, and she kind of reacts to them, but she doesn't react to the fact that you can just like drive into her like this. You can flip her entire vehicle upside down. She doesn't say anything. And that's a little unfortunate, because we actually already have some lines there in the script for what she should do if you violently drive into her, right? The problem is that the gameplay code doesn't have any way of hooking into collision events currently. So we have some collision events, and like if we put on the volume back to 1 for a second here, and then we drive here on some of these bumps, you can hear that we have some sounds like that, which are triggered by collisions. They are just sort of, they're pretty limited currently. Basically limited only to the vehicles, not really to other objects, and specifically to the vehicle suspension. That's what is driving all of these particle systems, and the clonk sounds when you drive on something uneven and all of that. But you don't really have collisions being fired just for any object that you can hook into say like a script or whatever. Something that we would need if you drove into Mrs. Florence here and you wanted her to be angry about it. So that's what we're gonna do today. I've prepared this a little bit in advance, not a whole lot though. But we'll take a look at this and see how far we can get. I think we should be basically able to do it all on this stream. So that should be good. I'm gonna do one thing here quickly. Be right back. Alright, so I'm going to put on a hoodie here because it got a little chilly. So, how do we go about doing this? Well, here we are in the game code. The game is written in Zig. And in addition to Zig, we have a whole bunch of different scripting solutions for setting up various points of the logic here. And so we have, for example, Nemo, which is my visual scripting solution for scripting mission flow. And so, for example, here we have the entire script or flow for this mission, which is organized into phases. Player drives around the level, players enter the lift station, players looking for power cells, all of this. And then we have these things called the vignettes. And these are things that can be triggered from the gameplay code, essentially, when something happens, right? So we have this on mission signal play vignette. So we send a signal, which is a string, which you can see here. .NET type system.string, because these tools are all .NET tools. So you send this play vignette signal to the mission, and then it kind of goes through and figures out, okay, what do we actually want to do here? So only start playing vignettes after the player has been to either the lift station or the refinery. Don't play if already playing. And then it selects the vignette to play. Here we have a couple of pieces of dialogue between characters. And then when it's done, it sets the playing vignette back to false. There's like a checkbox here. And so that's that. But then we have these Mrs. Florence vignettes. So for example, Florence Crane attached. She says, stop that at once, or unhand my vehicle this instant. I think this is actually, there's actually like a shuffle here. Let's go have a look. Where are those things? They are probably in the vignettes ink file. Yes. So this is ink scripting, which is it's like a scripting language that's used for narrative scripting essentially. And here is where we write the dialogue. It's going to be played back, and you can see here we have there's a not, almost like a function, presenting some delays and things like that. Then we have a shuffle, so it goes and kind of randomly selects one of these to play whenever you fire this Florence Crane attached message. And we can actually try that out here. If we add back a little bit of volume again, and then we switch to our trusty mother vehicle which has these cranes. This is good that I test this, because I've been doing so many things lately that could potentially break some of these things in subtle ways. It's very good that it gets tested. How do I... Now let's see, plus and minus is of course the keys that we use to extend the cable. So now if we attach this crane,
Stop that at once.
you can hear Mrs. Florence being very displeased with the situation. And of course you can just like have her sort of fly around in various different ways. So that already works, and now if we drop her down.
Well, I'm down. That's something, at least.
Yeah. So she kind of reacts to the fact that we've dropped her down, and she says, "Well, I'm down. That's something, at least." And of course, it's this Florence Crane released thing. So that works. However, we also have this Florence disturbed signal. She says, "Do you mind? I beg your pardon." Or ruffians, absolute ruffians. That's the sort of hook there that I was planning to use for. If you just like drive into her with your own vehicle, very abruptly. So if the impulse is large enough, she would go like, "Ah, what are you doing?" And of course, there's like all kinds of different things to think about here. First of all, how do we get the physics impulse? Right, because the crane attaching and detaching is like a very binary thing. It's just gameplay code going like, yes, we are attaching to this object now, so we can just very easily send that message there, right? But physics impulses are just arriving from all over the place all the time, so you need to do a little bit of filtering there to make sure that you don't like spam that signal. And then you also need to somehow author, because like not all the cars, not even all the cars of the same type as her car is going to be annoyed at you if you bump into them, right? So we need to somehow specifically script this car here to fire that message, right? And so I was thinking we would do it in the same way that we have done with this this crane, that part, in that this object, which is actually placed in the level editor, we will look at that a little bit later. It has a script, and that script applies to only this instance of the object, and then we can add a collision handler there. So when that collision handler is fired, it checks is the object that just drove into this the player object, and if it is, it would fire this script signal, right? The problem is that we don't have that kind of collision handler, so we need to fix that. We need to add that, and then it should be reasonably easy to have her be angry at us for doing things like this. Bonk. So that's what this is all about. And I mentioned I did a little bit of preparatory work here. I've added something called a collision filter, which is right here. We can have a look at this guy. So collision filter is a type. It's a struct that you add to one of the components that you want to actually drive this from. And the idea is that you initialize it. It takes a self pointer, obviously. It also takes the scene where the pointer to the physics scene that we're working with here. It takes the actor that we want to consider our own actor, and then it takes a minimum impact, a settle window, and a min time between events. So I'll explain these two a little bit later when we get into the nitty-gritty details here. But then it has a callback, and this callback is fired whenever there is a collision involving this given actor here, and which is filtered based on some of these times and impact values, right? And then it goes in and hooks up the collision listener to the actual physics scene and all of that. Then you need to tick it, because you need to pass it the delta time. This should actually be tick delta time. Now that I see this. Tick delta time is typically what I use as the fixed update delta time, which is 60 in this game, and then delta time is the variable delta time, so like the rendered frames, which can be anything. Then this has an internal on-collision function. This is not pub, like these are. And this is called by the physics engine when we have a collision. And then this is called for basically all of them, right? So we need to do a whole bunch of filtering here. Find out if this is actually related to the actor that we set up. And then we essentially store the best candidate for a collision event, right? Because collisions tend to kind of come in bursts, so you don't want to just forward every one involving that actor, because there can be one which is kind of high, then one which is really high, and then one which is kind of low, and you basically only want to forward the one which is really high, so the second one, right? That's why we have a tick logic here. So we have a little bit of cooldown, so we don't spam the thing all the time. And then if we are actually collecting the events, we check which one is the best one, and then we call it with the callback. So that would go out to the actual gameplay code. That's the logic here. Then this is just bookkeeping. You can see here, or perhaps you can if I show you. You can see here that this is versioned, untracked. So this was just added. I have never run this code. I don't know if it even works. So it'll be interesting to see if it works. I'm gonna reset that back up so I have a little bit more screen estate here, screen space. Anyway, that's in GHL, which stands for Game Helper Library. So that's where I'm nowadays putting these things that I consider that they could be useful for other games as well. They're not quite game engine level things. So now we need to add one of these actor collision filters to the object somehow. And how would we go about doing that then? Well, we can have a look at the object type that Mrs. Florence uses for her vehicle. And it should be in here. Yes, Florence vehicle. We can say that Florence vehicle is based on vehicles/test vehicle. That's why her vehicle looks like a gray box object, basically. Like this. Completely untextured, unmodeled, one would say. If you compare it to like a gripper truck, for example, which looks like this. Yes, we don't have any wheels here, but we can kind of like see the difference here. This is very much a placeholder. Let's not worry about that. This test vehicle is actually this one, and it is what gives us this look here. So the Florence vehicle has a couple of components in addition to the test vehicle one. This OBR here means that this is overwriting component in the base type, and then we have a conversation component. So you can't like just drive around and talk to all of the test vehicles, but you can talk to the Florence vehicle because it has a conversation component attached to it. Yeah, that's the overwriting thing, so it's checked here, exactly. Conversation component, and the conversation component, if we look at it in the level editor, we should be able to see which conversation it has, and it should basically match this Mission Minerva. Oh, actually no, that's a mission script, but this Conversation Florence Inc. script, this thing here. So we can go and have a look here at the object itself. Here we have all of its components. It has a conversation component here. And here's the conversation path. Conversation or conversations Florence. And it basically maps to this thing here. And it does that by actually mapping to one of these conversations here in this database. Conversation Florence, and here we can see the same path. Conversations Florence. That's a conversation. Okay, we could put it there. It's not necessarily related to conversations per se, but it might be an easy way for us to actually, add collision behavior. We could also put it on the AI brain. So AI brain component. If we click here, open in editor, we can see that, okay, we have a little bit of script here. And this is where we could now actually add this, what should we call it, like void on collision or whatever, something like this. And we would get like the float impact, and we would probably get like the game object, other object, something like that, right? And then this would fire, and then here is where we would actually send that message to play back some dialogue. That's one way of doing it, which could be okay. So we actually have two of these scriptable components here. We have the AI brain and we have the conversation. Yeah, and here we can actually see. So we have the Florence Crane attached and Florence Crane released messages that make her say things when we lift her up with the crane or drop her down. That logic is actually here, right? Cargo crane attached, cargo crane released, and here's where we send that message to the actual mission script, and then this makes her say things. Florence Crane attached, kind of like maps to here. Florence crane attached, and then she says, stop that at once, or unhand my vehicle this instant. So that's how that works. So basically we just need to like add one more of these guys, you know, here, which would be Florence disturbed, that, like that. And now she would say those things, but of course we need to filter it somehow. We can't just like do it every time she gets a message, or bad things will happen. Let's get rid of that. So yeah, maybe the easiest way to make this work is to actually have the on collision handler here, float impact, game object, other, like this, right? And then I think like self get, is it, no, what is it called? Is SP avatar other, right? So if the other object is the single player avatar, which basically means the player's car, right? Then we would do something like that. That would probably be the easiest way to handle this thing. That means that we would have to add one of these new, what did I call it? Actor collision filter types to a conversation component. Yeah, means conversation component is the component type that has this script. Which feels a little weird, but it could be actually kind of useful. So I'm wondering if we should actually do that. Right, that builds successfully. If we add this here to the brain one, which is arguably the more logical place to add this. Oh, we can still do it, can we? Huh? Really? Nemo. We don't have any auto completion, but the auto completion situation in this is kind of bad anyway. Okay, that's interesting. So if we can actually access this Nemo stuff from here, it would actually be a pretty good idea to do it in this. Right, that builds, but if we typo this, it doesn't build. Okay, that's cool. Okay, then we're gonna add it here actually. That's nice. I didn't remember I made it that cool. So AI brain probably has let's have a look here. How is the Nemo stuff actually exposed to this guy? Right, it clearly is, yeah. These days it clearly is. Because we even have a Nemo DB pointer here. Yeah, okay, here we go. This is actually how it works. Yes. This get script preface is the way that we actually have that. Cool. Okay, but in a nutshell, this is kind of an implementation detail. In a nutshell, it means that from this AI brain component, we can access this game sort of mission scripting symbols now. And that means that we can add the collision handler to the AI brain component, which is arguably the better place than, you know, having a conversation which has like physics collisions. It's a little stupid. It's a little weird. So let's do that. I'm gonna unload the backend here, as I call it, like this. We can keep this editor running, but we basically like free up the DLLs so that we can actually modify them here. So that's cool. Okay, here we have the AI brain component. This is a it's not actually not that large anymore these days. It has a few of these script components, but it mostly just delegates work to other things, right? So for example, we can call append move to object or append disable AI. It's called append because we're essentially like pushing something to a list. So we're asking it, hey, move to this object. And then it kind of delegates that work to some other component, which is better suited to handle it. But that's fine. So this is how we register things that we can call from script, but we can also register events, as they're called. So things that the script can call if we have them there sort of automatically, such as like, you know, the on collision event. So let's do that. Let's look at some example where that is done, because I don't actually remember anymore how to do that by heart. This one I think has one. Yes, on interaction declaration. So this is how it looks like. On interaction, host ID. And then this one is used to register a component event. And then we store this in a script function pointer. Right? And then if the script function pointer is null, that means that we don't have that. But if it is not null, it means that we can actually call it, right? And we do it here. Prepare call, then we set any parameters, and then we execute the call. Yeah, I'm just looking here, seeing if I have set game object ref param, but I do. Good. So we should have everything we need here to make this happen. Okay. That's nice. Let's close the others. I'm going to open up the AI brain, and we're going to open up the new one, which is called collision filter. And we will start by importing that. So we're already importing GHL, using it. Yeah, we're using it for the logger, exactly. So that's cool. I'm gonna move that off to the side here, and then we can have these side by side, like this. And we can see, okay, we're gonna want to have a similar definition up here, or declaration, whatever that is called. So on collision, right? And what does this actually give us now? It gives us an impact, a position, and a normal. And I think for the scripting event, we only want to pass it the other game object and the impact, right? So let's do that. And in AngelScript terms, that would be float, impact, or maybe we give it the game object first. So game object, other game object, and float impact. And I wonder if this should be called something like on collision with object. On object collision or something like that, right? Because we specifically only want to call this if we have another game object here. Like, technically it is possible that we are colliding with something which doesn't have a game object associated with it. Most physics actors have a game object associated with them, but that's not a requirement. So if we have a collision with something which doesn't have a game object, I'm thinking we're not even gonna call this for those cases. Alright, sorry about that. Got a phone call. Yes, so let's call it on object collision. And only call that if we have actually an object on the other side, right? So when I look at this, basically we want to register an event, and we're going to want to call this on object collision decl, like so. And then we're going to want to have a script function, which looks like this. Yes, on object collision script function. Object collision script function. And the script function pointer is not declared. Probably just have to add it up there, like so. So we initialize it to null, like we do with all of these. And then here in onCreate, we will figure out if we have one of those events or not, right? So if we are on the server, I think actually, yeah, we're all in the editor. This runs on client, the game only on the server. Okay, so we can just have this here. It's fine. That covers the editor case as well. Then on object collision script function is get script function by declaration, and we use the on object collision declaration for that as well. That's cool. I think that's all we need to do basically to figure out, do we have that or not? So what does this do? Get component, but doesn't do anything to it. What? Oh yeah, okay, there's an and there. I'm just confused by this. By this if statement here. So here, for example, we check if it is not null, then we know that, okay, this can actually be called, right? On area script interaction is probably called. Yeah, it's called right here actually. Yeah, exactly. And we can only do that if this thing is not null. If the player just haven't added one of these on object collision handlers to their script, then this will be null, so it doesn't make any sense to try to call it. That's the point here. Okay. That's good. Okay. The next thing that we need to look at is basically this: before hot reload, after hot reload. Do we have that? We do. We do actually have that set up here in the AI brain as well. We have something called setup callbacks and tear down callbacks. This is where we need to initialize and de-initialize this new collision filter. Because if we hot reload the game library, then any function pointers will be invalidated. So that means that we're gonna have to like re-register that stuff. So let's do that. I'm just gonna make sure here. Yeah, teardown callbacks is called in destroy automatically, or not automatically, but already. And setup callbacks is called in on object created. So this thing is already handled for us. Now, however, if we go and add one of these filters here, so let's do on object, or let's just call it actor collision filter, and it is of type GHL dot actor collision filter. All of this should be default initialized here. Yes, so we can default initialize the thing itself. Right. So this thing actually doesn't make any sense to even have if we don't have like a handler for it, right? So we can gate the whole thing basically on this. But I'm thinking we're gonna be a little bit more elegant than that, and we're gonna have a boolean here for it if we change the logic later on. So let's call it something like listens to collisions or listens for collisions. What is the for collisions? Boolean equals false, something like that, right? At least it's a little clumsy, the name, but at least we know what it actually means, right? So by default that would be false. We can just, oh, I have Super Whisper on here. Turn that off. That one as well. Bye bye. Listen for collisions is false, right? And and if we are on the server and we figure out that okay, we have a collision script function which is not null, right? Then we do listens for collision is true, right? Which means that if we only do that, then we can just shorten it like this. But later on, if we want to have a collision listener for some other thing besides just forwarding the scripts, then we can change this logic here, right? Currently we only listen for collisions if we have a script handler, but if we want to handle collisions in Zig as well, we can set the below to true, something like that, right? So here in setup callbacks, if we are listens for collisions is self, listens for collision is true, then we are going to want to set up the filter here. And same thing here, but just the other way around. If we are listening for collisions, then active collision filter dinit. And dinit here goes and unregisters the collision callback with the scene, right? So does this actually store the thing? Yeah, it stores it. Not sure it actually needs it, but it does store it. Stores the scene. Okay, well, that's neither here nor there for our current work. So here now we need to get the scene. So const scene is, that would be self context get primary physics scene, right? And then we need the physics actor, so that would be actor is self context get nope, is it transform physics actor? There we go. What else do we need? We need the minimum impact settle window and minimum time between events. I'm gonna take all of those guys and oh, that's not supposed to be right, like this. And then I don't know what this is supposed to be, but let's make it 1,000 for now. That's like kilogram per, what is it? What's the unit? Kilogram per meter. Kilogram times meters per second is the impulse magnitude there, which physics gives us. The settle window I'm gonna make pretty small, 0.1 maybe, or 0.05, something like that. The time between events I'm gonna make pretty large. Let's make it 2, so that would be 2 seconds. Right? And then we do self actor collision filter init, and we give it the scene, we give it the actor, settle window, min time between events, and then we need to give it a callback. That's true. So the callback is now the function that is called when this object is actually involved in some collision somewhere. Right, okay. So, fn on object call on object collision is what we will call it, and we will make it a method or function, member function, and then we will give it the thing that this expects us to take, so a const pointer to a collision filter event, evt, like that, on object collision. Good. So then we can take this guy and we can quite simply do dot init method, receiver is self, type is self with a large S, and that should just be like so. Oh, min impact, like that. There we go. So here's where we initialize the actual filter for this guy if it is listening for collisions. So the majority of objects with an AI brain, they don't actually care about collisions in this way. So we can just skip all of the overhead that comes from from filtering those guys. Okay then. At this point, I think we should probably, test this out by oh, that's probably a GHL collision filter event. Yes, it is. Whoop. There we go. Well, actually, we can hook it up all the way through. We can hook it up all the way through. So if we have this, if self dot that is not null, then we are going to want to prepare the call. We're going to want to make the call, execute call is there, and in between those we are going to want to set some parameters, right? Int param as well as the where is it? Here it is. It's the impact. And now this is going to be interesting because I don't think I've ever passed any game objects from Zig to AngelScript, so we'll see how well this works actually here. The first one is easy. That would be index 0 and evt.impact. There we go. And then we have set game object ref param, and we give it the object name hash, and we need to give it the host for some reason. I don't remember why. Client or server. Okay, that's fine. Actually, before we do that, we are going to want to check here if evt dot other game object is null, then we just return, because again we don't care about those events that don't have an actual game object. It might be that I did it here already. No, I did not. I'm calling get associated game object, but this might return 0, so I need to check it here. That's fine. And that means that we can have the name hash, other object name hash is evt.other game object get name hash. Yeah, and it goes through the API to the C++ side and asks that from the game object. Okay then. So this would be, let's see here, this would be 1. This would be the name hash, and then this would probably be get host. Right. I give it the host. Or does it specifically want it to be? Yeah, it works with the host. Okay. That's fine. That is fine. So this should now work. This should be all we need to actually have those collision events flow all the way from the physics engine to AngelScript. And the only thing we need to do now is basically go and enable this by oh, we're access denied. Why is it denied? It's denied because of this. There we go. Yeah, the only thing we need to do now is basically take this function prototype, and create one of these objects, one of these events in the script. And if we do that, it should get called. And it should get called because all of this boilerplate is run for it automatically. Isn't that cool? Yeah, that looks good. Maybe we can shorten it a little bit by doing it like this, and then we'll add a comma there, and then we can take that guy away. Yeah, so let's build that, and we'll go into the level editor and have a look-see here. So if this now works, I'm going to go and make myself a fresh pot of coffee. And then when I come back, we're gonna hook it up to the actual level dialog there, right? Well, let's try this first. Let's make this print something when we collide with it, right? So we don't need any of these. We can just take those away. Bye bye. We have the on tick here, and then we have void on. And you can see we already get the autocomplete here for this event, which is nice. So let's see. We can have the name. I think it was something like this. Get name. This is a case where the autocomplete is not very good. Yes, that works. So then we can do message is like collision with name impact and then we do print debug info msg, right? And then we export that. So then we can try that out. Let's make sure, yep, it looks good. And we need to actually load the campaign here for Mrs. Florence to spawn there. Well, actually, I could probably add a or use a debug script here to load test conversation. I think brings her in there, but anyway, this works as well. So this is the list here in the bottom right corner where we should see the text, and we should even be able to just fly over here immediately and put a vehicle here. And now I don't know if the impact is tuned correctly, but let's see. Yeah, so that didn't give us anything. Okay. Let's pick up some speed here on the way to make sure that we are crossing that impact threshold. Yep, we're clearly not getting anything. Okay, that would mean that. Oh, I know why this. I think we should actually be able to hot reload this change here. I have forgotten to call tick. So where's our tick function? Oh, we have a tick function. We do have a tick function. Good. So if self listens for collisions, active collision filter tick, and we pass in tick delta time here, like so. And this should now hot reload because this is not a data change; it's just a behavior change. So it should work just fine. Now, of course, access denied. Oh, it's because of this, isn't it? Yeah, I don't run the level editor with the hot reloading flag. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Okay, we're not getting anything still, so let's put a breakpoint here in on collision. Let's put it like there and just drive into her like this. Ah, still not getting anything. Yeah, okay, now we're getting. Let's see. Oh, but we are returning early. Let's see, do we go past that ever? We do. Yes, good. Okay, impact. What is the point impact? 2000 something. Okay, that should be more than enough. That should be more than enough. Bonk. still nothing here, so I'm wondering if I am doing something stupid here. Let's see if we can get a breakpoint there to fire. Soknanok asked, what OS are you using? I'm using a little known OS called Windows 11. Okay, so other game object is null for some reason. That's unfortunate. Associated game object. I wonder if it is like if we, you know, if we spawn like a crate here. Bonk. Ah, okay. Interesting. So we're probably actually firing that now. Call. Yep, here we are. Execute call. But for some reason, the result here is -4. What is -4? Let's go to like script module or something like that, right? -4. What's the AS execution? Yeah, so it should be 0. It should not be -4. -4 negative value means that there was a script engine failure for some reason. What game engine are you using? I'm using my own game engine called Basis, as you can see here. Yeah, so it's my own game engine, completely self-made. And this game in particular, I've used this game engine for a whole bunch of games. It is written in C++. This game in particular is written in Zig. So there's a little bit of a... Yeah, let's shut that down. And run some more maybe simpler tests here to nail down what the issue is here. And if we want to, if this remains a confusing mess, I'm going to create a very small test level, which we can directly boot into, which has like a vehicle and then a box spawned on top of it, and then it just falls down on the box, and then we can you know, debug it that way. But yeah, it messes with the camera there in the beginning. It's just all scripted stuff. So let's put a breakpoint maybe like here. So this is the first place where we have filtered out stuff that is, you know, not going to actually matter. And then we're going to put a breakpoint here. Or maybe actually there. Let's put a breakpoint there. Now the impact may be too small for this now, I think. Yeah, clearly is. If we do this, just mess with it a little bit. Yeah, it's still too small. So let's bring the impact down so that we know that that's at least not the issue here. It's right around here. Impact is like, I don't know, 1. And you know what? I'm just gonna go directly into the level editor here, and I'm gonna make that test level that I spoke of. So let's create a new level. Let's put a terrain. Here's our terrain. Beautiful. We'll make a put a scout here, for example. Clickaroo. There's the scout. Move it up a little bit. And yeah, vehicles don't have wheels in this level editor for reasons. And we have a crate. Dynamic crate. We spawn that basically above this guy. And we'll do like if message equals game started. There's a header I can include here to get like nice constants for those, but I know it's game started. Then we do set avatar self get game object. One. Let's try that first of all. Bonk. So simple. We can save this in the test levels. Test collision script, whatever. And then we do void on. On object collision. Something like that, and then print info MSG, right? Save that, let's try it out. What is happening? Bonk. Okay, the expression is false. Result is execution finished. So it should be finished, but it's not. So I'm gonna export this guy. That should give us a path to it, which is here. Then we're going to take that and put it in our launch options so that we launch directly into that level. Dash play level, and then that one. Now we can run this and it should directly boot into the level and almost immediately hit our breakpoint. That makes it significantly faster to figure out what is actually happening here. But okay, so we come here. We do have a game object. But then this fails. Uh-huh. Let's look at some prepare call sites in other parts. So we do prepare call, execute call. Okay, we don't have any parameters in those. Yeah, all of that looks good. Oh, am I passing those in the wrong order? Yeah, okay. That's why. That's why. I'm being bad at my job here. Who would have thought? Yeah, I originally had them in the other order. Then AngelScript probably got confused because I was like passing a game object reference as a float and vice versa. Boom. Blum 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 blum. Hey, look at that. Yeah, okay, we get object not set because the name is not communicated there as part of that object there, because like you can go in and get that from the game engine, but it's not really relevant here. The important thing is that we have the name hash matches. That way we can then figure out everything else. So now if we go here again, and we try this again. Actually, now Mrs. Florence's car should ignore all collisions with other objects, except the player's object. Yeah, so the tests that I made there earlier were actually a little stupid, because the filter would have triggered probably some of our breakpoints, but we would not have gotten the script output here in the lower right corner, because the script specifically asks, is the object the single player avatar? So the player's vehicle, essentially. Okay, hello, boom. Okay, still nothing. I probably didn't export that level when I was here. Now that I think about it. Well, then I did, and we have some other issue here as well. But now at least the test level works. Sometimes these things are easy. Most of the time they're not. You just run into so many issues. Let's see, on object collision. Oh, actually, no, we're not. We're not testing whether or not the object is the player or not. No, not testing that. And now that we set down the impact, we should also get it with very small impacts. Yeah, so it should actually be fine. I'm gonna copy that just so I know what I wrote there. Then again, I'm gonna unload that. Just paste it here. So once again, we're gonna go in and start adding breakpoints there to see what is actually going on, if we can't seem to actually get any hits. But now the collision filter setup has in impact 1, which should be basically like every little feather touch should be fine. Active collision is ticked. Yes. All of that should work. Yep, still not getting anything. That's not good. So then we'll put a breakpoint here again. And we'll drive into her. Boom. Nothing. Nothing. I do wonder if we actually set this up then. Here. Let's see, what is the... We have the game object first, and then we have the impact. What programming language do you know? I know quite a few. I know quite a few of them. Let's just make sure that we're actually ticking this guy here. Yep, we are. Okay. Good. So do we get any hits here in this one then? Yeah, we do not get any. That's confusing. Bunk. So what if we now spawn like a box here on top of this guy? Yeah, again we don't get any. The interesting point of course here is that like what is so different between this case and the test level case? Because they're both using the exact same component, exact same code. For some reason this guy doesn't wanna play along. Yeah, when it comes to programming languages, like this game is written in a mix of C++ and Zig, and the scripting language used here is AngelScript. The tools are written in C#. There's quite a bit of Python in the pipelines, in the content pipelines. What else? Lots of things. But yeah, I've worked with all kinds of other programming languages as well, like Visual Basic and PHP and Java and that sort of thing. I've never worked with JavaScript, but I do know a little bit of JavaScript, or maybe TypeScript is actually more correct. Never worked with those, so I wouldn't really say I know them all that well. Okay. What is happening here? Why are you not registering? Okay, now we are here. We are registering. And then the impact is too small. What? I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Okay, well, what is the impact then? Let's hot reload a printf here. Impact. Hot reload ourselves a debug output. Where's the debug console? Here it is. Okay. Punk impact is 0. Oh. What? That's weird. That's weird. Okay. Let's print the point impact here as well. See what that is. So maybe my filtering logic is somehow broken here. Shouldn't be. It should be completely fine. But you never know. Okay, what do we have? Oh, not even anything. What? What? Okay, now I'm so thoroughly confused that it's like I don't know what is real anymore. Okay. Yeah, now nothing is nothing is being triggered. Oh, what is going on? Bonk. Okay, here we go. Uh-huh. Is it possible that the hot reload somehow breaks that? I guess it's possible. This is super confusing. Well, we have those impact prints there. Let's take those breakpoints away. And let's see, can we actually spawn? Can we actually spawn? Yeah, we can spawn Mrs. Florence in there. That should be alright. Don't have to go through the whole campaign thing there. Come on, bonk. Nothing is happening. Wow, this is so super confusing. Because of course, like the whole. Yep, there we go. Okay. Collision. And what is the collision point impact now? Impulse is 0. So it really is 0. That's so weird. So we should be getting some 0. Yeah, point impact 0, impact 0. And then nothing is triggered. Okay. Yeah, now we're not getting anything. Okay, let's go dig a bit deeper here. So here we have pending collisions. Collision data. Collision points. So you have one collision point. It has an impulse of 0. I have that feeling that that this thing is somehow messed up. Let's look at pending collisions. Scene physics 5. Pending collisions is here. Collision date, but that should be completely fine. This is another somewhat recent change that I made here, that like we now buffer these things so that we don't poke at them while the simulation is ongoing. So this might actually be the reason why it's breaking. Collision data. Okay, so let's, before we push that there, I'm gonna print the impulse here. Let's do engine impulse percent 0.2f maybe, and like that, and then we do collision data. Do collision points 0. Impulse length, right? And we need to, if we, I don't exactly know if we can have a collision without a single collision point, but yeah, point count. Actually, you know what? It's fine. It's safe to do that even if we are printing some like garbage stuff there. We should see that garbage stuff and realize that we are looking at garbage stuff if that happens. Wow, this is not how I was thinking this would go. There's so many open questions now that I'm just like, what is anything? Who am I? Okay, now we should be seeing this at least on the engine side before we do any kind of filtering there. Yeah, we can just go here to refinery. This is the confusing case anyway. Fly over here, and then we spawn in the test conversation vehicle, scout. Okay. So, bonk. Yep, nothing. Nothing happens. What? Nothing. So it's something on the engine side then? We're clearing that here and we're executing the callbacks here. So what is actually... Yeah, we're not even getting a... Oh, but okay, yeah, that's it's because we're not running it here from Visual Studio Code, from the Zig code. Let's run it here instead. I'm gonna boot directly into the refinery level and run it here in this debugger. Yeah, well, sometimes this is what happens when you make these things. I wonder if it's like, is it like a filtering thing here where we are specifically not asking for these kinds of events here, right? So if we delete that, you can see that. Okay, we get some actual actual stuff now out. I think that probably has to be it. Dynamic create? It's kind of confusing, 0 impulses there, but oh well. At least we're getting some stuff out. That's fine. We're not getting any impulses here with the actual filtering though, which makes me think that there are probably... Okay, now we're getting. Now that we're pushing this guy into it. Getting some 0 impulses. Now we're getting some point impact values there. And we're getting this... Okay, come on. Stop doing that. We're getting like this one here. This is like a... There's a collision that went sort of like all the way through, essentially. And that means that we would be getting this. Yeah, you can see here 636, 4557. That would be this one here, the bottommost one. But we're not getting any collisions with this, which kind of tells me that okay, we are most likely somehow filtering out those. Well, I'm blocking the input here. We're somehow filtering out those collisions between like vehicle chassis. Yeah, like if we get rid of these guys here so that we don't accidentally drive into them, then very much looks like we don't get any kind of collisions, not even on the engine level. Don't get any engine impulses, not even like 0 ones. Okay. Where are those things configured again? Is it on the material? Material. Notify contact points. I think that is the important thing here. So let's hack these into. I'm gonna do a wheel. We're gonna do wheel swept. Yeah, I think we need those probably. Let's see what that gives us. Changing these flags is a little risky. Might break some like filtering that needs to be there for some of the vehicle models to work. So I'm gonna see how this actually turns out if I need to do some more drastic measures making this work. Yeah, now we can see. Now we're getting somewhere. Bonk. Still getting those strange impulse zeros there. But I'm thinking that is probably just how it's going to be for the completely unfiltered collision pairs. Okay, well, that explains it. So now then, if we go back to scene physics 5 and we take away this printf that we had added here, take that away, all of that away, bye bye bye, bye bye. We can build that, and then we can go here to this one and take away these printfs, because now we should be getting the kind of correct stuff out. So essentially what happened there was that on the physX level I had configured the materials to not report collisions between themselves, which is, you know, a good thing for various reasons, actually. That means that you don't get unnecessary reports, which is not something you want. It just slows everything down if you kind of fire callbacks for everything. And also, we do actually want to limit some of those collision pairs in order to make like the game physics work the way we expect it to. So now that we've enabled those, the filtering that we've looked at here in the actual gameplay code can now do its thing. Another question is, will it break something else that we have it enabled like that? Bonks. Now we can see. Okay, collision with not set impact 27,000. So the impacts are actually kind of heavy, kind of big. 7,000. 2,900. Right, so the wheels. Yeah, wheels still don't. Wheel to wheel still doesn't actually cause anything to happen, if I'm reading this correctly. You have to kind of collide the chassis to another chassis. Or maybe chassis to wheel. But it might also be that yeah, chassis to wheel seems to work, but like wheel to wheel doesn't. Is that how I'm supposed to interpret this? It might be that we actually get a collision, but we're filtering it out here somehow. Nope, we're not. Okay. Yeah, so that's unfortunate, because that means that if you're driving like super fast into another vehicle, but your wheel is touching the other vehicle's wheel, you don't get any notifications from that. You need to kind of touch it with your chassis. Chassis to wheel or chassis to chassis is fine, then we get notifications. Okay, so I need to solve that as well. Okay, well, this turned out to be a whole lot trickier than I thought. However, the code that we actually wrote today seems to be working. So let's hook it up to those signals. And I think what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna play around with this a little bit now here on stream, and then I will probably look at those physics filtering issues off stream, because it's probably not very fun for you guys to watch me go like for a very long time. So let's instead just do this. We're gonna take here on object collision. Comment that stuff out, and then look at this other script here, which was like that's the kind of message that we want to send here, and then we can tweak the impacts a little bit to make sure it feels good once we know that it's actually working. So, you know, if we do like this, if the other game object is the single player avatar, then we don't send that message, we send the Florence disturbed message. Like that. I think, like, regardless of how we solve that filtering, I think this is the script that we want here. We're gonna need a little bit of audio here to actually hear her be annoyed with us.
Here we are, Minerva Lift Station. Fastest way up to the plateau.
At least the elevator's still there.
Apologies again for the horrible text-to-speech voice acting. It's of course only temporary.
Comms operator of cargo platform 34. Do you copy? No answer. Let's go have a look.
Right, so if our code now works well
Looks
enough.
like the power's out.
Someone's parked over there.
So if we collide with her now from the side.
Ruffians. Absolute ruffians.
Yeah, the acting is stellar, of course.
Do you mind?
So now she actually reacts to you driving into her.
I beg your pardon.
And if we just throw a box, let's see, crate number 3. This doesn't do anything because it's not you actually being there, messing with her. So this is fine. But then if you drive into her,
I beg your pardon.
yes, I beg your pardon. Now the minimum impact here should probably be something like 1,500. I think that's probably quite okay. Yeah. Try with that. So then just kind of nudging doesn't do anything. So like this. That doesn't do anything.
Ruffians. Absolute ruffians. Do you mind?
I think we need to make it probably like 5,000 actually. Let's try with that. Yes, there was actually nothing wrong with the gameplay code from the very beginning. It's all like a physics engine level thing. Yeah, so if you just like kind of accidentally run into her a little bit, it's not that big of a deal.
Absolute ruffians.
Yeah. I don't actually know how.
I beg your pardon.
I don't know how tight that threshold should be.
Do you mind? I beg your pardon.
Maybe it's alright. Bonk.
Ruffians. Absolute ruffians.
Yeah. I think that will do.
Do you mind?
So I'm gonna do a pass on this offline, figure out the exact physics flags that I want for this. There's some open questions here still, like why don't wheel-to-wheel collisions actually do anything, things like that. But yeah, I think I can figure this out. It's just not very fun to watch on stream, I'm sure. So I'll leave that for some offline time later. Anyway, this was a little bit of a chaotic stream and quite slow to boot, mostly because the time is still quite early in the day for many people. But doesn't matter. I got some work done, and that's what is important. If you like to support the project, you can do that in a variety of ways. If you want to play the pre-alphas, you should join the Discord. There is a link in the chat.
That's a lot of smoke. What happened over there?
Yeah, shut up. There's a link in the description. There is also a link in the chat. And if you join the Discord, you can already play a version of this today. And you get a Steam playtest key by joining the Discord. If you want to play the final game, make sure to wishlist it on Steam. You can find a link to that also in the chat as well as in the description. And if you want to follow along the development, then be sure to subscribe to the channel, both the live stream channel, which this is on, as well as the main channel. Hey, Bill, you caught me like 1 minute before I before I decided I would, or before I'm about to end the stream, unfortunately. Glad to have you here for this last minute, though. I guess you're gonna have to watch the VOD if you want to see what we did today. Welcome back next time for some live development. Anyway, guys, have an excellent rest of your day. See you next time.